takes us to our next woman as we move from month to month. Takes us to Kim Smith, who disappeared sometime in January of 2009. You heard from Donald Smith, that was the gentleman in the wheelchair, about his daughter. Kim, I believe the testimony was really the only one of the 11 women who died that did not have any children or had not ever given birth to any children in her life. She would be the only one, but like the others, developed a crack cocaine problem. According to Mr. Smith, shortly after graduating from high school, Ms. Smith was about 44 years of age when she went missing. So again, a lifetime of struggling and battling with the perils of drug addiction. She would, her drug addiction would land her being charged with drug offenses, periods of incarceration, was staying with them in 2008. And he came in and he testified, the last time I saw her was January 17th of 2009. Her birthday would be January 20th. My sister, Christine, took her out on the 17th for shopping at a nearby mall to buy her some birthday clothes, and came back, and that was the last time he saw her. That was January 17th of 2009, and that's the last time she would be seen or heard from by anybody. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, we come up to another lady by the name of Imelda Hunter. Period of April of 2009, a very, very active period of time for Mr. Sowell. Very active here in April of 2009. You heard from Denise Hunter, the sister to Imelda, and from Bobby Dancy Sr., the man who fathered 2 sons by her. Denise said that her sister Imelda was about 46 years of age at the time of her death. One time the family lived in Chicago, Illinois. At 20 years earlier, she met Bobby Dancy. She was a mother of 4, gave a birth of 2 sons to Mr. Dancy. Around the age of 25, she became addicted to crack cocaine. Last talked to her about what? Around April 19th of 2009. April 19th of 2009. She said that Imelda one time lived on Imperial way back in 2007. She was with her sister Imelda when they were walking on Imperial, went to Sowell's house. She knew her sister was going into the house to buy some drugs. It was not unusual for Imelda to disappear for a week at a time. But the bottom, long and short of it, is last seen sometime in the middle of April of 2009. Last seen or heard from. Which now takes us to another woman by the name of who? Tanya Dumas. Tanya Dumas testified that in 2005 she lived on Imperial, basically somewhat, across the street, a few houses down from Anthony Sowell in 2005. Met him one day on the street, had a conversation with them. They went, got a 12-pack of beer. Would see him every other day or so. Dated him for about 3 months. Dated him for about 3 months. But she then moved to New York and stayed in New York for about a year. She acknowledged that Sowell lived upstairs on the 3rd floor. She moved back to Cleveland in 2007, would go back to Imperial on occasion. At that time, learned that Anthony Sowell had a girlfriend. That would be Lori. Talked a lot about his girlfriend. Talked a lot about how his girlfriend moved out and left her clothes there. And ironically enough, she would testify that she was with a person around April 20th of 2009, who? Nancy Cobbs, a friend of hers. She made plans with Anthony Sowell around April 21st to go over to his house, watch the Cavaliers, drink and get high. She's also able to describe the third floor layout, had been to the place a couple times after the game ended. Sowell would resort to something that he was quite good at, talking about how much he missed his girlfriend. And out of nowhere, he grabs Tanya Dumas by the throat and began choking her. 2 thumbs were pressing up against her throat. He said, "Bitch, you can be the next crackhead dead and nobody will care about you. Knock 3 times on the floor if you want to live," which he did. Slapped her and said again, "Bitch, take your clothes off." We keep hearing that as a recurring theme. Words coming from his mouth from different people testifying to that. She says, "Can I go into the bathroom?" Meanwhile, these folks have been drinking and smoking crack all evening long. She went to the bathroom, came back, he's lying naked on the bed. She goes on the bed, curls up and falls asleep, and he doesn't bother her for the rest of the night until they wake up in the morning. Wakes up as if nothing ever happened, but it happened to her. Like, where did you come off with that, putting your hands around my neck and choking me? But for whatever reason, she was allowed to leave. Didn't report it to the police. Why? Said been raped before. Did not think the police would help her. And I indicated that around April 20th, a friend of hers was a person by the name of Nancy Cobbs. Once again, on behalf of Nancy Cobbs, you heard from 2 of her daughters, Kiana Hunt and Audrey Williams. No question, Nancy struggled with a drug problem for many years. Drug, to wit, crack cocaine. Mom would be living on the west side, but would come on a regular basis to the Griffin, Kinsman area, because that's her stomping ground for the people she knew. She knew where to get the drugs from. Said her mom's birthday was April 20th, and saw her mom about 2 days prior to April 20th. The Friday after her birthday, apparently her mom had a doctor's appointment that she never made or showed up to. And Miss Hunt would make a police report the following Monday. Audrey Williams, daughter of Nancy Cobbs, testified she last saw her mom on April 24th, a few days after her birthday. Saw her in the area of where she was living at the time in the CMHA housing projects around 40th Street. And claims that her mom was staying with her at the time. April 24th, 2009, last time anybody heard or saw from Nancy Cobbs. The list continues to grow. We're now into a lady by the name of Janice Webb. Janice Webb, you heard from Lamar Webb, her son, her sisters, Joanne Moore, and Audrey Webb. On drugs for many, many years of her life. Lamar Webb said he last saw his mother in June of 2009. said his mom was living in Lakewood. Don't forget that. Lakewood. Talk more about that later, but Lakewood. And in June of 2009, everybody's just stopped hearing from her. Sisters said we would talk to her almost every day on the phone. That stopped. So once again, sometime in the summer or June of 2009, no more Janice Webb. Which takes us now to the next lady by the name of Felicia Forrest. Miss Forrest had been adopted by a lady by the name of Inez Forrest. Inez lived in East Cleveland for several decades. Felicia, mother of three, about 31 years of age when she went missing. Long-time problem with drugs, no question about it. Father of two girls by her is a gentleman by the name of Terrence Minor, who testified that he lived in the area, and she would come by occasionally and see her daughters. Another person struggling with a crack cocaine addiction. Inez testified that the last time she saw her daughter was June 3rd, 2009, at her house in East Cleveland. She would disappear. Nobody would hear from her after that. Next person is Diane Turner. You heard, to learn a little bit about Diane Turner, you heard from a lady by the name of Janice Groves, who is the foster parent to Diane Turner's daughter, Denise Martin, ever since Denise was a few weeks old. You heard from the father of Denise Martin, James Martin. And again, a long-time drug addiction problem. Miss Groves indicated that she worked at Daly's. Janice Groves worked at Daly's, a Jamaican restaurant in the area of 116th and Buckeye, I believe, for many years, and would get, every night she would almost see Diane Turner come up to Daly's and maybe wash dishes for a half hour to an hour and get paid for that. But that stopped toward the end of August or the beginning of September of 2009. But again, we have a woman that worked at a Jamaican restaurant. We would learn more about that when Mr. Sowell was interrogated at a later point in time. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, a woman that was last seen at the end of August or beginning of September of 2009 and just would disappear. Gone forever.